Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. With every day that passes, we are allowing and enabling the government to create and build a surveillance state. We're actually willing participants in it. I think there's always been this notion that the government was going to be the one who rolled down the road with tanks and police and installed cameras on buildings and on streetcar and forced this onto everyone. But that's not been the case, and that will not be the case. What is the case is that we're enabling it by complying and allowing this technology to be in our day-to-day lives. The more comfortable we get with this technology, the more we're enabling the government to create this surveillance state. And I want to share something that was shared on the website by Angie Sunshine that ties into something that I've covered in the past with 911 being allowed to access cameras. And it starts with this, where new software is allowing 911 dispatchers to access cameras near emergency calls. And of course, it ends with 911 and the police being able to access the camera on your phone. But of course, what they do is they start to desensitize you with things like this, because most people would hear, well, if 911 is going to have the ability to access a camera on the street, that sounds like a perfectly good thing, right? Because that could help save somebody's life. It could help get emergency dispatchers to the right place. Hey, it could even solve a crime by giving 911 dispatchers access to the camera earlier than the police would actually get access to the cameras. And this is how, little by little, they desensitize you into giving up your freedoms and your rights. They tell you, of course, that this is not a violation of your privacy. We promise we will not violate your privacy. We promise this, we promise that. And that's all people need to hear, is them telling you this. And then each step of the way, it's like A to Z. It's not just, well, bang, 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 bang. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. They tell you that, hey, now all of a sudden, since you're not upset about cameras being on street lights, and you're not upset with cameras being all around you and everybody having cameras then installed on their phone, now it's more about you getting past that and getting on to the next step, which is allowing the government to access the cameras that you have at your disposal, which is your cell phone, which is your Ring, which they already have access to, which is your smart television, which are all these devices that you probably don't even know that are in your home that have cameras and recording devices in them already. You may remember in the past I even covered how there were those robo vacuums inside of people's homes, and they were recording and listening to people perform intimate acts, listening to them in the bathroom. Unbelievable how we're allowing this technology into our day-to-day lives, but it's all in the name of convenience, right? It's easier to have a robo vacuum than to actually vacuum the floor yourself, right? And as we continue moving forward and saying, let's get this tech in our home, let's get that tech in our home, let's get that tech outside our home, we're building this surveillance state. It starts here. I'll show you the video clip with what's going on in Michigan, where they tell you that, hey, new software can allow 911 dispatchers to access the cameras near emergency calls. And of course, it ends with them accessing all the cameras in your home, which don't really belong to you in the first place. They belong to Big Brother. All you're doing is enabling them. Take a look at this.
I'm Darren Cunningham in Livingston County, where new technology is being tested that aims to help 911 dispatchers and first responders do their job more effectively.
I know people, particularly in this area, really value safety.
Emilio Zapata works in downtown Howell. We asked him his thoughts on new technology that allows 911 dispatchers to access live camera footage within about 100 yards of where a 911 call is made, potentially allowing dispatchers to see the emergency as it unfolds.
I think we're getting more and more used to the idea of cameras watching. I work at that restaurant right over there. I know that I would feel a lot safer knowing that just that information can help law enforcement. I really also think it can be a deterrent.
The software is owned and developed by Eagle Eye Networks. I spoke with Cooper Briscoe, the company's director of product marketing.
So when they're directing first responders, we're keeping our first responders safe, and we're increasing the safety in the community because now they're more informed as they're arriving on scene. They are potentially going exactly to where the threat occurs, and they have up-to-date information that otherwise they would not have had.
Folks have expressed concerns about the extent to which this technology is used, to which a camera can be viewed, footage can be viewed. Briscoe says those questions do come up. The idea that Big Brother is watching, but he says that's far from reality.
So, Darren, very often people get concerned immediately. What about privacy? What about compliance, right? We don't want law enforcement accessing cameras. I want to be abundantly clear that Eagle Eye 911 camera sharing is not giving carte blanche access to view video from law enforcement.
The technology is being tested here at the Livingston Educational Service Agency. I'm told the school system has a camera equipped with the software known as Rapid SOS in the lobby. Joe Bomarito, with Elite Fire Security based in Novi, installed it.
And what's great about it is if we can make this a community involvement, and this really interested me, is if we have a couple cameras here, a couple cameras there, a couple cameras all over the city. When those 911 calls are placed, it starts bringing up those cameras within about 100 yards from that 911.
He reiterates, once the 911 call is done, there's no further access to the video, and dispatch does not record it. In Livingston County, Darren Cunningham, 7 News Detroit.
So, of course, you hear them say, well, is it a privacy issue? You hear the one guy say, well, I think we're getting more and more used to the idea of cameras watching. And really what it should be is that we should not be getting used to the cameras watching. But I've talked about all of the psychological things that they've been doing with making you be okay with creating a surveillance state. They make you feel unsafe in your home. That's why they are allowing criminals to run amok instead of stopping criminals from committing crime. In fact, they're enabling criminals. They're letting them out of prison. They're deliberately doing all this stuff. It has nothing to do with voting. It actually ties into you creating a surveillance state for the government, right? So in other words, you see all these news stories of people porch pirating, people breaking into people's home, and you start thinking to yourself, subconsciously, well, maybe I should get a ring. And then you hear again. And 6 months go by, maybe somebody up the road had somebody break into their home or take something up their porch, and then you install a ring on your front door, something that you had said years prior that you would never do. In fact, if I told you a decade ago, you would have said it's completely insane. But now, of course, because of all the stuff that they're doing, problem, reaction, solution, people are putting this technology on their own homes in the name of safety. And then on the flip side, of course, convenience, right? So people are putting cameras on the outside of their home, and then inside their home, they're bringing in all this smart technology, like the Alexa, like the smart television, the smart refrigerator, right? They hear smart and they just think, well, it's hooked up to my phone, right? And they don't even realize, wait, why is there a camera on my refrigerator? Why do I have a smart refrigerator in the first place? Wait, there's a camera inside my television? Oh, well, that's in case you want to do a Zoom call and have a meeting on your television set or on your refrigerator. And of course, they'll never realize what they're actually doing because they've been trained to think that you and me are conspiracy theorists. But once everything is fully in place, and once there's a camera at every single inch of every single home and every single street and every single house outside, these people won't even realize who has full control and access over it. They'll think no further than, well, the police to solve a crime, right? But then when the government starts taking more and more from you, taking more money from you, taking more rights from you, taking away the freedom to move around freely from you, and you start saying you've had enough of it, it'll be too late. Because you've already built in a surveillance state. And when the government hears you starting to speak against what they're actually doing, well, now they'll just come to your front door like they plan to do all along, but not the way you may have thought. Because you built this around you, because we allowed this to be built around us through fear and convenience. Now, all of a sudden, the government has built a massive prison on Earth. Think about that. A massive prison on Earth. If the goal is to imprison all of us, which it is, they can't fit every single one of us in a jail cell. But what they can do is get us to put all this surveillance in our own homes, in our day-to-day lives, things that could track our movements, track where we go, track what we say, watch us, right? And then they start just clamping down, worse than they've already done, taking away more and more and more and more, and more and more and more and more. And nobody will realize it. Wait a minute. Well, how are they getting away with this? Well, they're getting away with it, for starters, because you've given them the ability to imprison you in your home. And if you start speaking against it, if you start speaking about, hey, we're going to go do this, we've had enough of this, it's too late. It's too late because they're listening. Big Brother's always watching. So the new tool for 911 dispatchers is being tested in Livingston County. The technology software is known as Rapid SOS, and the developer said it allows dispatchers to access cameras near an active 911 call. So when you hear that, people will just say, well, that's fine, right? What's the big deal? There's already cameras in the streets, right? There's already cameras on the stoplights here and there and every street corner. And that's really where the problem started, with us allowing it to happen, right? So they rolled it out. Nothing occurred out of the ordinary except people getting speeding tickets and running red light tickets in the mail. Not enough for people to get angry to say, this is a violation of our privacy, we're removing this. So then they want more and more and more coverage of these cameras, so they just continue to allow crime to run amok and plaster every news station with stories about people coming up to your front door, walking into your home, right? People not just porch pirating, people literally squatting and seizing your property. And then people go, well, I need camera this and I need camera that. And I don't just need a Ring. I need to make sure I have a camera outside my home that can actually record. So people, so I could go to court. And then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute. I've just built a prison around me. So potentially dispatchers will be able to see the emergency as it unfolds. They say, I know people in this area in particular really value safety. And I think we're getting more and more used to the idea of cameras watching. And that's the problem. The guy in the clip said, I work at the restaurant right over there. I know that I would feel a lot safer knowing that information can help law enforcement. I really think it could be a deterrent, right? So you create weak people as well, right? We take away gun rights from actual civilians. You allow criminals to have guns. You do all these things around us. And then you create weak men who want to feel safe and need the police to feel safe instead of protecting themselves or protecting their families. You also, on the flip side of that, any people that protect their home and protect their families are being prosecuted by this corrupt, wicked government. Because how many stories have we heard about somebody breaking into a home, the person who owns the home shooting the person who broke in, and that person who shot the intruder is actually getting arrested and going to prison for murder. Because they said, well, was he really a threat? Well, he broke into your home. Well, he wasn't armed, though, and you shot him. Oh, what are you supposed to do? Pat him down first? Or are you supposed to allow him to kill your entire family, right? So then it could be on a true crime show, and then people could go, why didn't that guy do something? He had a gun in his home, and he didn't even shoot him, right? Because everybody's a hypocrite, and everything's catch-22. So, you look at it from both perspectives, right? Well, he shot the guy, and then everybody goes, he shouldn't have shot him. He wasn't armed. The guy had a problem. He broke into the home. He thought it was the wrong house, maybe, right? But if he did break into the home and then the father didn't defend his family and he killed the entire family, then they'd say, well, the father should have done something about it. What a bad father. What a stupid person. Blah, 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 right? Because it's a world of opinions. All the opinions are just hypocritical opinions where people don't think about each possible outcome that could occur. And really what it comes down to is we shouldn't be allowing people to commit these crimes, to get away with these crimes, and then being allowed out of prison time and time again. But of course, this is what the government wants, so we can create a society that thinks like this and acts like this and then wants Big Brother to come and protect them. So the man's saying, we should have cameras on every street corner. It would make me feel safer. I'd feel at ease. I'd feel at peace. Oh, okay. Well, you could be armed to protect yourself in the streets. Then I think there'd be a lot less crime, right? If everybody was armed, or if, some people were armed, because we know that criminals are getting access to guns. So then why can't civilians have access to guns, right? But people don't think like that. They just go, oh, no, we need Big Brother, right? The same Big Brother or the same police that most of these people want to defund, then they want them to show up and protect them, right? So it's just a world where everybody complains, nobody thinks, and we continue to give up our rights in the name of convenience and safety, right? Instead of people taking care of themselves, protecting themselves, not, taking power away from these wicked people who are allowing all of these criminals to run freely. So we're getting to a point where, like I said earlier, it starts in America with them saying new software will allow 911 dispatchers to access the cameras near emergency calls. Then it turns into the other stuff where they start saying, well, we're going to access the camera on your phone next, right? And then we're going to access, your front door lock, because then we're going to start airing stories about how, parents are locking their kids in their home and they, that's not safe and they're abusing their kids. Well, then let's give Big Brother access to our front doors too, just like the key to the prison cell, right? And little by little, all they need to do is just create the propaganda, keep convincing people that this is what's needed, and they comply. And they go, oh yeah, we should give the government access to people's front doors. We should, because parents are now locking their kids up inside, or there's domestic violence in the home and the guy's locking the home up and he's not letting anyone in and nobody can get inside. Let's just give them full access to people we don't know, who we clearly can't trust, right? Convenience is leading to compliance. And of course, people being fearful of everything going on are just allowing the government to put cameras everywhere so that they can feel more safe and secure. And then, of course, you mix in all the propaganda that is against people who are quote unquote conspiracy theorists. And these people think what we're all saying is crazy, right? And then the next thing you know, it's too little, too late, because once this stuff is all in place, then the government has full carte blanche over all of our lives. What really should be occurring is people need to be pushing back on technology. But the more we go forward with the tech, the more we let them go, hey, you know what? You have to get on board now with 5G. And people go, well, I don't want to be on board with 5G. I have a flip phone. They go, well, we're shutting off all flip phones. You have to comply now with 5G. And people go, well, I won't comply with 5G. And they say, well, you can't access your bank account without a phone, you know. What? Yeah, you can't get into your Gmail account without your phone, you know. So you're going to have to comply, and they force you into compliance. When we should be taking power away from big tech, not just big tech, tech in general. You don't have to take it away from big tech. We need to just get off of the technology in general and start learning trades and learning how to live freely from these people. We're allowing them to enslave us via technology. And it's not just, some notion of, enslavement with technology. They've kind of made it like this passive phrase where we all just go, you're enslaved with technology because you're always on your tech. Technology has become the ultimate addiction. That's why, you never, ever hear anybody talk about technology being addiction. They talk about all these drugs being an addiction and this being an addiction and that being an addiction. The most dangerous drug out there is technology. People are obsessed to it. They're addicted to it, right? They're in this hive mind. They're uploading their thoughts to the internet, thinking that they're out there just in space. Every time something happens in their life, they feel the need to tweet it out or to put it on Facebook. Right? How many people do you look at and they write something, they're telling their thoughts, like, it's the anniversary of their mother's death or something. They write a whole book out there. They don't even know what they're doing. They're being programmed into behaving that way, right? You're just going, what is this person doing? Oh, and then everybody underneath is like, I'm so sorry. I miss your mom too. And oh, your mom's great. Oh no, that's such a beautiful thing you wrote. They're all robots. They're robots. They're being manufactured. Behavioral control isn't something that they're striving to achieve. They've already achieved it through the technology. That's why we need to break free from it. But this is what's next, folks. We're giving away, not only are we allowing the cameras to be in place, now we're giving access to the cameras, just like with the Ring. I covered that, how the Ring and Amazon are giving access to the police automatically, right? Which just shows you how this isn't really a government. This is corporations running the United States of America. And of course, they're running this globalist order, but they're giving away all of our rights because we're consenting to their technology and allowing this stuff to be put in place in our own homes. That's where we need to do the pushback. But it seems like it's too late because most people are obsessed with their tech. And again, I know I'm not being a hypocrite. I know I'm on technology right now, but I'm getting closer and closer and closer to fully removing myself from technology and from society in general. And it's not something that they're like, oh, that sounds sick. That sounds... No, actually, the more I'm offline, the healthier I feel. And I'm sure most of you feel the same way. They're just forcing us into doing stuff online all the time because, well, you can go get your food here. You can go if you spend your day growing your food and doing all these things that we're supposed to be doing, learning trades, carpentry, etc., you wouldn't feel the need to be entertained on the internet all the time and order Uber Eats. You would have a fulfilling life. But they don't want you to realize that. They don't want you to realize that the mental health, it's not just the 5G and the chemtrails. It has to do with the internet in general. It has to do with constantly allowing them access to our brains and then them just polluting our minds with all of their propaganda 24/7. This isn't the day of, you had to turn the television on to get your propaganda. You're constantly getting fed with propaganda 24/7 because people are on their technology 24/7. So the next thing will be, of course, them accessing the cameras on your phones. Not that they can't already do it, just legally do it. And then you'll have civilians who are saying that everybody should have access to everybody's phones and everybody's cameras at all times because we're in a community now, right? Welcome to communism, folks. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.